The garage shutter, which is usually closed, was oddly open. No way. My hand shakes, and the umbrella I'm holding trembles slightly. I can feel my heart pounding. As I get closer to the car, I realize clearly there's not just a woman in the car, but also a man. And they are in the midst of an affair. Ugh! I bite my lip to stop myself from screaming in shock. I can't let them know I'm here. I need to gather evidence. The person who comes out of the car is undoubtedly my husband, Freddie. Come on, the car is cramped. Let's do it outside next time, huh? Freddie's cheerful voice sends shivers down my spine. Stop it! Someone might see us. Close the shutter. No, it's fine. The car will hide us. The remote is too far away. Come here, Moselle. You're the best in the world. It's no use anymore. I can't stay here anymore. But if I leave now, what about the evidence? I fight the nausea and try to think. That's it. I quickly grab clothes lying on the ground and a remote hanging on the wall and leave the garage. For you two, so vigorously passionate, being naked suits you well. Stay there together forever. First time having a woman in charge. Are you sure you can handle it? Please, I don't want any complaints or tears, says the client jokingly, but without malice. I'm Holly, 34 years old. I've been in sales for over a decade. I'm used to this. Don't worry, I've got it under control. As I smiled amiably, our client Leroy began packing up his documents. All right, he said, standing up from his desk. I'm used to it, but I can't shake off the unsettling feeling in my chest. Please contact me anytime if anything comes up before our next meeting. I stand up, hiding my feelings, and follow Leroy. He moves towards me, pats my shoulder, and then strokes my back. Yeah, I'll get in touch. Looking down on me because I'm a woman, yet showing ulterior motives because I'm a woman? Trying to keep my distance from his hand, I find it troublesome. Hey, Leroy, what are you doing? Don't get too friendly. A man's voice causes Leroy to hastily back off. Freddie, this isn't what it looks like. Ignoring Leroy's flustered excuses, the man apologizes to me. Leroy is sorry. I'll speak to him about this. Oh, and feel free to ask for a change of person in charge anytime. That man who had a better sales smile than me, this man, probably Leroy's boss, would become my husband just a few months later. His name is Freddie. He's 6 years older than me at 40. At first meeting, I was impressed by his considerate demeanor, and Freddie continued to show his smart handling of situations. Gradually, we were drawn to each other, and a month ago we got married. The Freddie I met back then was certainly charming. It was surprising that he hadn't been married until he was 40. But perhaps there was a reason why he had stayed unmarried until that age. Looking at our new home, I sighed. Rewinding to before we got married, Freddie was a frugal person. I earn decently, but there's no need to waste, right? When I asked about our wedding plans, Freddie was surprised. Wedding ceremony or not, it's a personal choice. There are various values and beliefs, but how you communicate those values is important. I didn't have a strong desire for a big wedding, but being treated as a waste made me feel uneasy. I pushed these indescribable feelings down and asked the next question. So what about our new home? Shall we go house hunting next weekend? Both Freddie and I were living with our parents, so moving into one of our apartments wasn't an option. We needed to decide on our post-marriage residence. Freddie faintly suggested moving in together, but I firmly declined. Often returning home late at night due to work, I didn't want to inconvenience his parents with different living rhythms, so renting seemed like the logical choice. How about looking for a 2 LDK apartment? To my suggestion, Freddie unexpectedly objected. An apartment? He looked dissatisfied. Could he still be hoping for us to live together? I've said before, living together is difficult.
No, it's not that. I've only ever lived in a house, you know?
Freddie interrupted me. I lived alone during college, then moved back home for work. Freddie, on the other hand, commuted from home during college and had no experience living alone. Are you worried about the size? For now, without kids, an apartment should be enough.
No, it's not about the size. Can't you understand? It's just a feeling. I don't care about the size or age, but I want a house.
Okay, got it. Let's look for one. So with his peculiar insistence, we moved into this house. Our new home from today is a 50-year-old rental house. Older than my parents' house, but a house as he wished. I would have preferred something newer, but couldn't convince frugal Freddie.
They say you grow attached to old houses as you live in them.
Well, that's true. The rent is cheap for its age, and it might be sensible considering the future. But the deciding factor for this house wasn't the rent.
I'll be right back.
With that, Freddie, looking restless, headed to the garage. The garage, an addition next to our house, looked out of place with its modern design against the old house. It had an electric shutter that operated with a remote. Following Freddie, I found him gazing at something in awe.
Ah, how beautiful it is.
What he was admiring was a super luxury car, delivered just a few days ago. I'm not well versed in cars, so I don't fully grasp its appeal, but it was definitely expensive. Including various expenses, it cost just under $400,000. When I heard the amount, I was so shocked that time seemed to stop. That's the price of a house. We could have bought a house you wanted.
No, houses don't matter to me. Don't you get it? It's a man's dream. A man's dream.
I wish he wouldn't dismiss such an enormous amount as merely a man's dream. If it was from Freddie's savings before our marriage, I wouldn't have said anything. But unbelievably, he bought it on loan. Moreover, he didn't consult me beforehand, thinking I would oppose it, so he told me after the fact. Are you sure this is okay, considering we might have future expenses?
It's fine. We're married now, after all.
Isn't it usually the opposite? Freddie, admiring his reflection on the car, didn't even glance at me as he spoke.
Now that we're married, you will earn and manage the living expenses, right? Then I can use all my salary for the loan.
What?
When I lived at home, my mom managed my salary, so I couldn't spend freely. Now I can.
I had heard about his mother managing Freddie's money, which I thought was just overprotectiveness, but now I see his unique approach to finances. He doesn't spend on a home he's not interested in, but spares no expense for a car he loves. In a way, he's honest with his desires, but it's unfair to expect me to support him. So, I'm supposed to support you. That's impossible. We might want kids in the future.
What are you talking about? I'm already 40, and you're 34, right? It's too late for that. Don't have strange expectations now. Just contribute to me instead.
But you said you wanted kids too. Yet all you care about is the car?
If it happens, we'll raise it, I guess. Oh, and don't say support. I work too, you know.
Freddie complained, but if he spends his salary on the car and I have to cover living expenses, it's like I'm supporting him. Sensing my silence, Freddie affectionately stroked my head, trying to appease me.
Jealous of the car? How cute. Don't worry. I'm all about you. Love you. You're the best human in the world.
Although I knew he was trying to appease me, his absurd words made me laugh, and I couldn't say anything more. This is quite a situation for a newlywed. During a work break, Lindsay, Freddie's age, and a rising star at work, listened to my rant with a wry smile. Her work performance had been exceptional, leading to an unusually rapid promotion. Being so empathetic and trusted by everyone, Lindsay was always there for advice. I knew he was particular, but I never imagined he'd be so self-centered. My ex-husband was the same. He always put himself first, never listening to anyone else. Exactly. Our moving boxes are still unpacked, and he keeps sneaking off to the garage. Well, I ended up divorcing because he never changed. But Holly, you're still newlyweds, right? Maybe you'll change. Lindsay pulled out a small bag of chocolates and placed it in front of me. Eat something sweet, refresh yourself. You don't have to accept your husband blindly, but maybe try meeting him halfway. Of course, joining the divorcee club is always an option. As I ate the chocolate, Lindsay and I exchanged smiles. True, I had little interest in cars and hadn't made much effort to understand them. Maybe my attitude showed whenever Freddie talked about cars. Since I'm finishing work early today, maybe I'll cook his favorite Chinese dish and wait for him. After shopping at the supermarket, I hurried home. All right, where should I start? I packed the fridge with groceries and flipped through a recipe book. Lately, I'd been too busy to cook anything elaborate. As I pondered what to make, I faintly heard a woman's voice. Listening outside the open window, the voice was intermittent, but definitely there. Houses in this area are spaced apart. It couldn't be a neighbor. Feeling uneasy about the intermittent voices, I grabbed an umbrella and my mobile phone from the entrance for protection and quietly headed towards the source of the noise. The voices seemed to be coming from the direction of the garage. Huh? The shutter, which is usually closed, was inexplicably open. Freddie doesn't use that luxury car for commuting. He's afraid of scratches and finds it difficult to drive, so the shutter is usually closed. Freddie opens it every day after returning home. He even had a security camera installed in the garage for extra protection. It's strange for such a secure garage to be open. What if it's a female thief? If she's after the car, I have to protect it. It's Freddie's precious car after all. I gripped the umbrella tightly. It seems the female thief is already in the car, struggling to start the engine maybe. The car was shaking enough to be noticeable from a distance. Holding my mobile phone ready to call the police, I crouched and slowly approached the car. I hid close to the window. That's when I realized my huge misunderstanding. No way. My hand trembled, and the umbrella shook. I could feel my heart pounding. As I got closer, I understood clearly. There wasn't just a woman in the car, but also a man. And they were in the middle of an affair. Who could it be? The answer was obvious. No one would use someone else's car in their garage for such acts. Freddie was having an affair. Ugh. I bit my lower lip to stop myself from screaming in shock. I can't let them know I'm here. I need evidence. I had my mobile phone. I could record a video. But what should I do? The voices are muffled, and filming inside the car without being noticed is difficult. My emotions were a mess, and tears started flowing. I knew I needed to do something, but I couldn't move. Suddenly, the car stopped shaking, and the voices ceased. Phew, it's hot. With that exclamation, the rear seat door on the opposite side from where I was hiding opened. And unsurprisingly, it was Freddie who emerged. I couldn't see him, but recognized his voice. A woman seemed to follow him out a moment later. Wait up, I'm not even dressed yet. And Freddie, you've only got your shirt on. Your pants are missing. That's crazy. The woman's laughter rang out, unfamiliar to my ears. Because there's no need to put them on yet. Look, it's cramped in the car. How about we do it outside next time, huh? Freddie's cheerful voice sent shivers down my spine. Stop it! Someone might see us. Close the shutter. No, it's all good. The car will hide us. The remote is too far away. Come here, Moselle. You're the best in the world. Hearing these all too familiar lines made my heart ache. He'd said them to anyone. and I had foolishly believed them. After a while, the woman, Moselle, didn't seem to mind, and they started making disturbing noises again. Didn't they feel any shame, knowing someone might see them outside? All this effort to get dressed.
It's fine, it's fine.
Clothes, either tossed or taken off, floated in the air and landed right in front of me, hidden in the car's shadow. It's no use anymore. I couldn't stand this anymore. But if I left now, what about the evidence? Feeling half panicked, something caught my eye in the upper corner of the garage. That's right, that would work. I could get the evidence without being here. Deciding my course of action calmed me, and my mind cleared. Engrossed in their act, they wouldn't notice me. I easily made it to the garage exit. That's it. I'll take this. I swiftly grabbed the clothes on the ground and a remote hanging on the wall and left the garage. Then things moved quickly. I stuffed only important items into the trunk. I wasn't coming back to this house. Minutes later, I was at my office. I needed to save the evidence. While my mobile phone could do it, a computer felt more secure. There was a computer at home, but staying there risked running into Freddy. At the office, I had my personal computer. Just grab that and maybe head to a cafe. Rushing, I grabbed my computer from my desk and heading for the door, only to be stopped by someone grabbing my shoulder. Holly, are you okay? Oh. Turning around, I saw Lindsay standing there, a puzzled frown on her face. I meant to say good evening, but the words wouldn't come. You're pale. Are you okay? What happened? Lindsay watched me silently. Tears welled up again as I met her gaze. Feeling weak, I blurted out, Lindsay, Freddy, he's cheating on me. I clung to Lindsay like a child. Cheating? What? Lindsay's eyes widened in shock, her jaw set in anger. She quickly covered my head with her jacket. Lindsay, there are still people around. Hide under this. Yes. Feeling like a suspect on the news, we hurried out of the office. But now, let's go to my place. But I feel bad for intruding on Lindsay's home, especially after a long day at work. I hesitated, but that feeling quickly vanished. After witnessing what I had, Lindsay was a source of immense strength. Thank you. Lindsay's apartment, a few minutes' walk from the office, reflected her capable nature, calm, elegant, and tidy. So, what do you need the computer for? Is the cheating confirmed, not just a suspicion? Lindsay asked, offering steaming coffee. Well, actually, I hesitated, then told her everything. Unbelievable! That's outrageous! After hearing it all, Lindsay was shaking with anger. What now? What's your plan? I can't be with him. Not just as a wife, but as a person. I'm thinking of starting divorce proceedings. That's pretty malicious behavior. You should get as much compensation as possible. Got enough evidence? I can refer a lawyer. Thank you. That's why I brought this. I placed my personal laptop from work on the table. A few minutes of working on it, I turned the screen towards Lindsay. This? Your husband and his affair? Yes, it's a recording. I never thought the surveillance camera for the luxury car would be useful like this. It could be remotely operated, and the data was stored in the cloud, meaning everything from that moment was recorded. From them getting into the car to their monkey-like antics, you've got it all. This is enough evidence for cheating. I'm relieved. Can you view it in real time? What are those monkeys doing now? Probably gone by now, right? Well, I pulled out the remote from my bag and showed it to her. This is for the electric shutter. I closed it when I left. In a rush of blood to my head, after getting ready to leave, I closed the shutter and threw out the clothes I had picked up. It was a rash action. But right now, those two were trapped in the garage in a sorry state. You did that? Hilarious. Lindsay burst into laughter, slapping her thigh. They must be panicking right now, right? Checking the camera, it seemed they had noticed the shutter closing, but too late to escape. The camera showed them arguing in a pathetic state. Lindsay laughed even harder, and I couldn't help but smile. Then my mobile phone rang. It was Freddie. I didn't want to answer, but reflexively pressed the button. Well, there's nothing else to be done. I reluctantly answered. Hello?
Holly, still at work?
Freddie's voice, trying to sound calm, quivered slightly. Yeah, with Lindsay. What's up?
Oh, there's been a malfunction with the garage shutter remote, and I'm locked in. Can't find the remote either.
It wasn't a malfunction. I had closed it deliberately, and the remote was with me. That's tough. Maybe call a repair service. They should open it quickly.
No, it's fine. Don't want to waste money. Yeah, I'll figure something out.
Freddie hastily denied. Of course he would. If a repairman came, they'd easily open the shutter, revealing them in their less than dignified state.
Could you come back home right now?
Sorry, that's impossible.
Hey, your husband is in trouble. How can you dismiss it so easily? Are you even a wife?
I don't want to be lectured by someone who's boldly asking for help while trapped with his mistress. Well, if you insist, I guess I could make the call.
No, wait. That's not what I... Oh, come on.
Freddie sounded frustrated. Perhaps he found it challenging to explain the situation without revealing the truth. What's going on? You're acting strange. I'm going to hang up now.
Wait, Holly,
I pretended not to hear and hung up. But he called again immediately. Lindsay smiled as I pondered what to do. Freddie must be trying to get Holly to open the door, she said. Probably right. If they called a professional, their embarrassing state would be exposed. But if I arranged for someone and was present, they could hide in the car. He must be trying to deceive me about the mistress, too. The calls are persistent. How about this? Holly, why don't you go on an overseas business trip? What? Lindsay started explaining smoothly. It seemed sudden, but she had been considering assigning me this task for a while. The business trip itself is planned to last about a week, but it could be extended depending on the circumstances. It would have been tough to ask a newlywed like me to go, but she intended to go herself. It's perfect for a divorce. Tell Freddie you're going on a business trip. But with my current feelings, now is the time. It's better to immerse yourself in work. Plus, Freddie won't stop calling until you show up. You don't want to see him now, do you? Indeed, I dreaded the thought of being in the same space as Freddie, and I was getting tired of the constant ringing. Are you sure? It feels like I'm involving personal matters and work. Don't worry. I'm the one taking advantage of your personal situation. Despite my hesitation, Lindsay persuaded me, and I decided to go on the business trip. I messaged Freddie on WhatsApp. I have an urgent business trip, so I won't be back for a week. I'll be overseas and won't be in touch. Then I headed overseas. Though I was a bit anxious, the trip went smoothly thanks to Lindsay's explanations and documents. I was also familiar with the project. I enjoyed my time at the destination, and the week flew by. I kept in regular contact with Lindsay, exchanging various information. I had once dreamed of working and living overseas before marriage. Though it was temporary, it felt like a dream come true. I resolved to return after sorting everything out with Freddie. That's what I decided. Upon returning to America, I immediately took action. I had no intention of returning to that house. After the trip, I moved directly into a property Lindsay and I had eyed before I left. Throughout this time, I ignored all of Freddie's attempts to contact me. I decided it was best to wait until I was ready. About a week after moving into my new apartment, I received a call from an unknown number. Perhaps it was a work contact I'd forgotten to save. Without much thought, I answered. Hello, this is Holly speaking.
Holly, finally you answered.
The voice on the other end, filled with relief, belonged to Freddie, who was still technically my husband. Freddie, why?
Holly, why haven't you answered? You've been unreachable for so long. Are you cheating? Is your business trip a lie?
What? What is he talking about? His accusation was absurd. That was his doing, not mine. I wanted to retort, but managed to restrain myself.
Just come home once. I have something important to discuss.
Freddie ended the call abruptly. The moment of confrontation had arrived. I took a deep breath and visited that detestable house for the first time in weeks.
You're finally back.
As I stood at the entrance, the door swung open, revealing Freddie standing there arrogantly with his arms crossed. I'm not back. I came to talk. You said you had something important, and I have things to say too.
Well, come in then.
Freddie gestured with his chin and headed inside. I followed him into the living room, and immediately, my eyes locked onto a familiar figure. Ah, there was no mistaking it. Moselle from that incident was sitting on the sofa. Moselle waved at me, fluttering her hand. Freddie looked away from me and replied to her.
She's a colleague from work. She's been helping out while you were gone.
A mere colleague coming to our house?
Shut up. You don't have any right to judge me.
Freddie sighed heavily and slammed a paper onto the table. I stared at it intently.
You know what this is, right? Divorce papers. I don't need a selfish wife who doesn't care about her family.
Freddie looked triumphant. I smiled and reached into my bag. Coincidentally, I was thinking the same thing.
What?
Imitating Freddie, I slammed my own divorce papers onto the table, already filled out.
Why would you?
Because I want a divorce, just like you.
That's true, but...
Freddie seemed shocked, perhaps expecting me to be tearful and pleading. Shall we proceed? About the compensation. Freddie looked up, startled.
Yes, that's important. We need to talk it over, properly.
I wasn't sure about the amount, so I consulted a lawyer. They suggested something like $20,000.
What? That much? Really?
Freddie's face lit up with surprise. Moselle, too, seemed delighted, her eyes sparkling. Moselle and you each will pay $20,000.
What? So a total of $40,000? We did it, Moselle.
Wow, Holly, you're so generous. Watching them hold hands and jump for joy, I tilted my head and spoke softly. Why are you so happy? Is paying compensation that exciting for you?
Huh?
They froze, their eyes wide.
You misunderstood, right? You just said we have to pay the compensation?
Of course. Why would I pay it? Freddie turned red with anger as I smiled.
You're to blame. It's because of your selfishness that I even considered divorce.
Why? Don't you have any idea? Their obvious discomfort was telling.
Maybe I was too busy to pay attention to you, but...
His excuses were transparent. Well, yes, you must have been busy. Meeting up every week, you two?
Secret meetings? We didn't have any.
His voice cracked with agitation. Always on weekdays, and you even used our house for home dates. How thrifty can you be? Even high schoolers spend a bit more. I heard you even bought your lunch at the grocery store. Maybe spend a little more on her. Freddie's face was a shade of deep red as he struggled to find words.
I was saving for Moselle's future. I like being frugal.
So that's his freebie reply. That's not frugality, Freddie. That's being stingy. And it's a nuisance for everyone involved.
Watch your words.
Freddie raised his arm in anger, but stopped abruptly when he saw someone appear behind me.
Who's that?
Lindsay appeared to back me up. There was a reason I asked her to come. Meet Lindsay, who I've been working with. You know her, don't you, Moselle?
Moselle?
Ah. Moselle's face turned pale upon seeing Lindsay. Rushing to Lindsay, Moselle pleaded desperately. Please don't tell my mom.
Mom?
Freddie looked confused at Moselle. Instead of Moselle, I answered. Moselle is still a college student. She lives near Lindsay. Though I hadn't recognized her initially in the camera footage, Lindsay and Moselle were acquaintances. Moselle's family was known in the neighborhood for being strict. Becoming involved with a married man was unthinkable, and even dating was forbidden.
College student? You told me you were a working graduate.
Didn't you say she was a colleague? What's going on? Confronted with my question, Freddie looked around nervously and fell silent. I'm sorry, but even if I don't tell, the lawyer will. You can't afford the compensation, can you? Someone else will have to pay. Moselle was trembling, her head bowed. Please stop. I was grounded just for dating a classmate before. If they find out I was with a married man, I might never be allowed out again. I wondered why she would risk so much to be involved with Freddie. Watching in disbelief, Freddie kneeled beside Moselle.
Wait, Moselle, you're unemployed?
Stop saying it like that. I'm just a college student.
Unemployed then? Oh no, how are we going to manage? I need a working mother. The loan.
What? What are you talking about? This loser, relying on someone else's income? Freddie was near hysteria, and Moselle was fuming. Lindsay, they're quite a pair, aren't they? I muttered. Watching their ugly quarrel, there was no point in staying. Lindsay and I exchanged glances and started to leave. Suddenly, Freddie, looking desperate, grabbed my arm.
Wait, I was deceived. I didn't cheat. Holly, you're the best, believe me.
His pathetic plea was all he had. I stared at him. His face was tear-streaked, his eyes bloodshot, and his words were all about self-preservation. Mostly lies. I felt relieved I wouldn't have to spend my life with him. I'm returning to this.
What? Why do you have the remote?
Was the repairman surprised? Let this be a lesson. No more garage antics. I saw everything.
What?
Don't use such an expensive car as a substitute for a hotel. Cars are meant to be driven. If you're going to get in, at least sit in the driver's seat. Don't get it wrong. Realizing what I meant, Freddie's face drained of color, and he slumped to the floor. Laughing, Lindsay patted my back as we left the house. The divorce was finalized without issue. Moselle's parents paid the compensation, saving the day. Moselle herself was summoned home and now rarely leaves, forbidden to wear makeup or dye her hair, spending her days studying. It seemed she might soon be married off to someone her parents chose, as Lindsay mentioned. Perhaps for Moselle, that was for the best. As for Freddie, after the divorce, his affair with Moselle quickly became known throughout the company. Giving his self-proclaimed status as a loving husband, the backlash was severe. Moreover, his mistress was a college student. His reputation plummeted both within the company and with clients. Now he's shunned both internally and externally. He continues to work to pay off his luxury car loan, but it's only a matter of time before he's fired, as it's more of a liability than a benefit to the company, so everyone says. While their fates reached my ears, I was too busy with my life to care. A year after the divorce, I quit my job, and now work overseas, living my dream. Hey, Holly, why are you smiling? Just thinking about how to surpass you, Lindsay. Lindsay recently started a business. Come with me. And she invited me to join. I didn't expect it to be overseas, but readily agreed. My dream had come true, but I had a new one. To become like Lindsay, surpass her, and repay the kindness she's shown me. The debt to Lindsay is immense, both personally and professionally. I don't know when I'll achieve this dream, but I'm determined. In your lifetime, that's impossible, Lindsay said with a knowing smile. I silently vowed to myself while watching her.